The solicitor read the new will on a Tuesday morning in a room that smelled of old carpet and the particular mustiness of a building that had not been aired properly in years. My cousin Diane sat across the table from me. I had known Diane for my entire life. We had grown up in the same town, gone to the same schools, spent summers at our aunt's house in the years when summers felt as though they lasted for months. We had not been close as adults, different lives, different cities, different rhythms, but we had been cordial and occasional, and I had no reason to expect what happened when the solicitor began to read. The will that existed before this one had been in place for 7 years. My aunt had mentioned it to me twice in the past 3 years, once in passing and once deliberately, in the kind of conversation where someone wants to make sure you know something. She had been clear both times. Equal division between her 2 surviving relatives, me and Diane. The new will left everything to Diane. I sat very still while the solicitor read. Diane was looking at her hands, which she did not usually do. Diane was the kind of person who maintained eye contact in every situation. It was one of the things about her that I had always found slightly unsettling. The fact that she was looking at her hands told me she had known what the will said before she walked into the room. I asked the solicitor when the new will had been made. He gave me the date, 11 days before my aunt passed. 12 days after she had been diagnosed with a brain tumour. I asked who had accompanied my aunt to the appointment to make the will. He said he was not in a position to share that information. I already knew. My aunt had been diagnosed and within days had lost the ability to drive safely. Diane had been the one who drove her. Diane had driven her to the hospital, to the pharmacy, to every appointment in those final weeks, including, it appeared, one that had nothing to do with her health. I thanked the solicitor. I said goodbye to Diane. I walked to my car and sat in it for 20 minutes. Then I drove home and called a solicitor of my own. Her name was Patricia, and she had been described to me as someone you wanted on your side and would not want against you, which turned out to be an accurate description of a woman who listened carefully to everything before she said anything, and who, when she did say something, said it precisely. I told her everything: the original will, the diagnosis, the date the new will had been made, Diane's role as driver and carer in those final weeks, the look on Diane's face at the reading. Patricia asked me one question first. "Do you have a copy of the original will?" I did. My aunt had given me a copy 3 years ago, on the occasion of the deliberate conversation, and had told me to keep it somewhere safe. It was in a fireproof box under the spare bed where I kept documents I did not want to lose. "Good," Patricia said. "That is very good." She explained the 2 grounds most relevant to my situation. Whether my aunt had the mental capacity at the time the new will was made to understand what she was doing and its consequences, and whether Diane had applied undue influence, had used her position as carer and sole companion in my aunt's most vulnerable weeks, to shape a decision that my aunt might not have made freely. Neither ground was simple, neither was guaranteed, both were potentially available. "Do you want to pursue this?" she said. I thought about my aunt, the woman she had been before the diagnosis, precise and funny and the kind of person who said exactly what she meant and never said more than was necessary. About the 2 deliberate conversations about the will. "Yes," I said. 14 months, that is how long it took. I will not pretend it was easy, or that it did not cost things that cannot be put back. The relationship between me and Diane, which had been cordial and occasional, is now nothing. She contested everything. She produced a statement from the solicitor, who had attended the will signing, saying my aunt had seemed clear and decisive. She said in written correspondence that I was motivated by greed, and had always resented her closeness with our aunt. I read those letters once, and then asked Patricia to handle all correspondence directly, because reading them was not useful to me. What was useful was the medical evidence. My aunt's consultant had documented, 2 days before the will was made, that my aunt was presenting with significant cognitive disruption, and that her capacity to make important decisions was at that time impaired. She had not been asked about the will. Nobody had asked her. Nobody had thought to ask. The combination of that documented impairment and the circumstances surrounding the appointment, Diane driving her, Diane as sole beneficiary, the speed of the change after diagnosis, the existing will that had specified equal division, was sufficient. The will was overturned. The court applied the previous valid will, the one my aunt had made 7 years earlier when she had been entirely well and entirely clear, equal division. Diane received her half. I received mine. My aunt had a photograph taken at her 70th birthday that I have on my desk at home. She is laughing at something just outside the frame. Her head is back and her eyes are bright and she looks completely like herself. That is the version of her I choose. Not the reading, not the 14 months, just that photograph and the knowledge that her original wishes were the ones that were honoured in the end. Has someone ever taken advantage of a person you loved? Drop it in the comments. And if you want more complete stories with no part 2s that never come, follow the page. New story every day.